So, welcome. This is a presentation about my master's program. So I called it my Ties Testament. It's been really a journey of a lot of self-reflection, a lot of deep philosophy into not so much the hows of Montessori, but the very deep whys. So in the spirit of that, I just want to open with what we open our circle time with lately, and just kind of let the day go and settle into this as we begin. So we're going to have a mindful moment, just a moment to sit quietly and breathe deep. Thank you. So first of all, thank you everybody for coming and sharing this journey I've been on for the past year and a half. Kind of got thrown a curveball in the middle of it as I got pregnant and had a baby who's here. So I really appreciate everybody's time, and I want to say thank you to my family. Go ahead and point on this. For helping with watching the baby as I write papers, and to my fiance for all the support, and to Lena for making it all come full circle. So the audience today is my family and the staff here at Anchorage Montessori. I'll have them introduce themselves.
Find the button. Where did it go?
I can edit stuff too. With Greta's coaching.
It disappeared. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're starting over here with...
Hi, I'm Alex. I am a primary 3 to 6 teacher across the hall.
Hello, I'm Rick. I'm the executive director.
Hi, my name is Erin Valentine, and I am the lead teacher in a primary program at the school.
Hi, I'm Greta Seitz, and I teach the lower elementary classroom.
And I am Naomi Galloway. I am the lead in the upper elementary classroom. Yep.
Hi, I'm Lenore Delgado, and I'm a co-teacher in primary classroom.
Perfect. So without further ado, I've kind of titled this A Journey of Personal Transformation of the Soul, Rooted in Mindfulness, Meaning, and Montessori. Let me tell you a little bit about the background of TIES. It is the Institute for Educational Studies. It's a Master's of Education program through a private college, Endicott, on the East Coast, Endicott College. The emphasis of it is Montessori integrative learning. It was founded by Dr. Philip Gang and his wife, Marcia Snow Morgan, and they are Montessorians through and through. Dr. Gang was an engineer whose daughter went to Montessori school, and he felt and sensed the magic and did his studies in Bergamo, Italy. His wife and him, their relationship really blossomed with their passion. They opened several schools, some in New Zealand, Oregon. So this video is just one piece of the entire process, the second to last piece, might I add. with my paper being due next Friday. And then I should be done and graduated by May. So this presentation is also given with the assumption that the audience is pretty well versed in Montessori. You guys I know all are. These guys have heard it from me a lot. So they have a surface knowledge. You know, Maria Montessori is full of wonderful quotes. But as I've gone on this journey, they've definitely taken on a lot more meaning for me. This one in particular, it's not enough for the teacher to love the children. She must first love and understand the universe. She must prepare herself and truly work at it. That is definitely what has become really relevant in my life and applicable. I didn't understand the essence of the science that went in to the philosophy prior to this program, and I'm so grateful for it because it has definitely impacted the way I teach, my relationships in life. It's really just set the tone for the kind of teacher and role model and just citizen of the world I strive to be. Through this process, I've learned that life is a continual process of becoming. There's no end goal. You know, you check one box and move on to the next goal. Check one box. Prior to this program, I felt like I was always kind of searching for the end, searching for settlement. I wanted, you know, to just kind of be settled and calm down and routine. And now I face adversities with gusto. Like, I'd rather not ever feel settled and comfortable. I don't want to be reliant on what I know. I want to strive for more, and that is definitely thanks to ties. Another big overall kind of message that's come with this is that education is an extremely personal process. You can't teach meaning through rote notation. You can't predict what anybody is going to know. They have to form their own relationship with what they know, how they know it, what's of value to them. And that is an incredible personal thing. It can't be mass prescribed and served on a platter. It has to be relevant to each child, and I think that's a big draw. The Montessori philosophy is that we are able to honor that in each individual child and follow them and build them up as individuals and look at what they know, where they are, and progress them from there. Like I said, this program gave me the very deep whys. This was done in conjunction with my training, my Montessori training through American Montessori Society as a partnership option. The hands-on technical training gave me the how to teach the materials. This master's program was the next journey of that and kind of filled in the missing pieces with the whys. And I guess the overall thing that it gave me was lesson that I took away from this whole journey for the past year and a half has been that my cosmic task, as Maria Montessori calls it, is to plant these seeds that I've taken from this program, which is really taking ownership and a passion for what you know, how you know it, building your own value system, being a continual learner and loving to learn, and being a mindful human being and the balance that brings. And that's kind of my goal with this now, is to plant that seed into my students, to share it with my family, my friends, my coworkers, anybody that comes in my life. I honestly do believe that is my cosmic task. That's my great work in this world. So right from the get-go, this program kind of shook me right out of my UGG boots and Starbucks and Netflix. It really just rocked my world. And that started with this book, on dialogue. It spoke of the power of collective thought that our society as a whole has, and that we are facing this kind of crisis of perception and what we view as reality. Our society as a whole, not just in America but worldwide, really puts a lot of value on things that are collectively a made-up entity but don't exist in any real tangible sense. And that is things like politics, religion, corporations, industry, these kinds of things, but they don't exist in any tangible form. And that people are so deeply rooted with their assumptions of what they believe that they are not very open-minded to change. Assumptions kind of affect the way we perceive, the way we feel, the things we do, and consequently our actions. In this book, he talks a lot about, Baum talks a lot about dialogue versus, I guess, more open conversation, getting back to the roots of assumptions and how to open yourself up to be more in tune with what other people are saying and going behind the assumptions, kind of suspending your own judgments and that own little inner voice and being a more open listener. We're going to talk more about it. Just want to give you the brief overview of it right now. The other one that kind of knocked my socks was the chaos theory, 7 Life Lessons of Chaos, and the introduction of the chaos theory. This was, again, talking about the crisis of perception in our society and what we're where we're placing our values and kind of the disconnect that it draws between human beings. Our political views really disconnect us, and none of these things are really connected to what is real, and that is our planet, our earth, these kinds of things. So it kind of pointed in the direction of using the universe as a guide. Chaos is all around us. And again, we're going to talk more about this one in a minute. The other one was the universe story, and using the universe story as kind of the guiding light through this program and through the Montessori philosophy. Maria Montessori was ahead of her time in the fact that she does use the universe story as her cosmic curriculum. What we all come from and the connectivity of everything. So with that, I kind of came to the conclusion that relationships affect everything, and that all learning really occurs deeply in relationship. And that is relationship in the sense that it made me take a step back and look at my values. Honestly, it made me take a step back and look at my values and what I know and what I believe, why I believe it, and where that knowledge kind of came from. And I wanted to build a stronger relationship with what I knew. And for the first time, this program, I feel like, offered that sense of values within myself. Montessori has come full circle in my life several times, at different stages in my life. And kind of brought me back from going down not so great paths in my life. And Dr. Gang shared in one of his papers that Montessori opened the door for a personal transformation, one in which the true nature of my being began to emerge. I felt that on such a deep sense. That's what's happened with this program. And Montessori stated that the teacher should be at once precise like that of a scientist and spiritual like that of a saint. The preparation for science and the preparation for sanctity should form a new soul. For the attitude of the teacher should be at once positive, scientific, and spiritual. And that she said in spontaneous activity and education. Reading this book, I was guilty before of thinking that love was enough. I love children. Why is that not enough? Why do I need to understand more? Why do I need to dig deeper? When I really got into the science of her, she didn't call herself a teacher, she was a scientist. She used these theories of nature and the cosmic laws and applied them to the materials with her and the observations in the classroom on such a deep level, I felt that I had done myself an in-service and my students by not making an effort to better understand the scientific stuff. And it was a great disrespect to the person who honestly is my idol and who I strive to live in accordance with her values. So as I opened myself up, things really began to change. And the things that I felt steered my soul in a more positive and scientific and spiritual direction was the Montessori philosophy, these scientific theories, quantum theory, the universe story, and mindfulness. Mindfulness hit hard, and it was like the universe itself spoke to me in a lot of different ways. It kept popping up in all aspects of my life through this program, through my work. The school that I was at in Vegas had a strong mindfulness curriculum. The yoga classes I was going to, it just kind of started attacking from all angles. And I quickly realized that it wasn't enough to just believe it and to buy into it and know that it works. I had to do it. I had to apply it. So with the Montessori philosophy, what this program opened up for me, again, not with just the hows, but the whys, is that it really is education for a peaceful society. We are teaching forms of emotional regulation and communication and these just deeply rooted human skills that are going to shape these children's lives for the rest of their lives. We are planting that seed. And to really be mindful in the way you teach that, and the way you show that, and the way you model it in the classroom. Again, Maria Montessori was so ahead of her time with her cosmic curriculum and how everything is so rooted around nature and what does exist and the great lessons. And that her philosophy is based so truly on her scientific observation of humans' basic needs and tendencies. And the purpose behind the materials really is in line with those innate human needs and we get to see it lived out in the classroom every day. I had a lot of opportunity with this program to work doing observations, and not only observation of nature, of children, of people, but observation of myself. They asked us a lot to do a lot of reflecting of ourselves observing. And I learned a lot about myself and my assumptions and how they were affecting what I was seeing, and they were affecting the way I was reacting. And the philosophy is based on the principles of children being autopoietic, and that means self-creating. Auto, self, poetic is creative. And then all human beings, all living things are kind of in this circular pattern of self-creation. And that, I believe, is really rooted in why in the Montessori classroom we are so hands-off. And we allow them to grow and become their true selves and create their true selves by choosing what is of value to them. And of course the cosmic task, and what that is for humanity as a whole, what that is for our society, what that is for our school, what that is for our classrooms, what that is for our students, what that is for ourselves. The next kind of theory we talked about was quantum theory. And again, I just had this notion of, I hate science. I don't understand science. There was all these big scientific terms when we started reading. And they were embedded in all of these books, and I just kind of nodded and smiled and took what I could from it. But it wasn't until I got to this book, Leadership in the New Science by Margaret Wheatley, where she applies these theories of quantum physics to corporations and corporate business and society, but when you read the book, really it applies to relationships. Every relationship you have in your life, quantum physics applies to. I think it's affected the way I communicate with my team, with my students, with my fiance, everything. But what she talks about is that science informs the way our entire society thinks. And you can see this as we move from former Newtonian principles to more quantum principles. Newtonian principles, the theory is everything in isolation, all the separate parts, the segregated parts. You still see this a lot in businesses. Everybody has a different department in cubicles, these kinds of things. Very industrial style, that whole era. We still see it in classrooms. In traditional classrooms, everything is isolated, reading, writing, math. But now, as science has evolved, businesses, corporations, all these online things, they're starting to move more towards quantum theories, where everything is in relationships, and information is valuable and not so secretive, and more open communication, looking at the roots behind the problem. It also ties into chaos theory. Chaos is everywhere. It's in the universe. It's happening all the time. Things fall apart so that better things can fall together. Creativity really stems from when everything falls apart. So just to kind of embrace change and look at the whole picture, the whole perspective, versus just the isolated parts. So science has changed the way we view the world from our past Newtonian principles. The universe is a guiding force, and we must focus on holism rather than parts. Relationships have everything to do with literally everything. The world is inherently order, and when left to sort out its own chaos, it will again return to its orderly nature. So applying these two to my life let go of a lot of anxiety. And I think it couldn't have come at a better time, because getting pregnant halfway through a master's, getting engaged, moving from Las Vegas back home to Anchorage, buying a house, starting a new job. I think my mom can attest to this better than anybody, I never lost my shit like I used to, quite frankly. And I really do attribute that to this program, these theories of chaos, and this mindfulness, and this kind of self-reflection, and taking it in stride, and how to act instead of react, and just be mindful of what I'm feeling, know that it's okay, it's all going to work out, kind of what is a big deal and what isn't a big deal. And then, of course, the mindfulness journey has just been really, mindfulness essentially it's not Buddhism, it's not for, hippies with dreads and Subarus. It's essentially just self-awareness, and it's something that has been such a tool in my life for literally every situation and every reaction. It's changed the way I speak to children. It's changed the way I speak to other humans. It's changed the way I deal with frustrations. It's changed the way I drive my vehicle. It's literally changed every aspect of my life to one that I feel like is much more respectful and calm and balanced. So I'm excited to share some more of that with you. I look at this pile of books now and I'm like, oh my gosh, I read all of these in a year and a half. But these are really like the entity that make up who I am and who I want to be now. And these are a continual source of learning. So now I would just kind of like to share some of them with you so you guys can understand a little more of where I'm coming from with this. So this was honestly maybe my favorite read of the whole program. This is by Krishnamurti. He's a Buddhist. And the book is called Education and the Significance of Life. And the book is absolutely as profound as the title. So I'll share some of the quotes, my favorite quotes that stuck out with me and really left relevance in my life with you. So, intelligence is the capacity to perceive the essential, the what is, and to awaken this capacity in oneself and in others is education. To educate the student rightly is to help him understand the total process of himself, for it is only then there is integration of the mind and heart and everyday action that there can be an intelligent and inward transformation. So, you can't understand others without first understanding yourself. You can't understand empathy, you can't show compassion, you can't be a peaceful and caring human being if you can't show that to yourself. Right education comes with the transformation of ourselves. I've been living that process. To understand ourselves, we must be aware of our relationship not only with people, but also with property, with ideas, and with nature. To have an open mind is more important than learning. And we can have an open mind not by cramming it full of information, but by being aware of our own thoughts and feelings, by carefully observing others, by watching the rich and the poor, the powerful and the lowly. That one is such a deep testament to me to also the power of observation. I feel like inspiration comes from without. You see, you internalize, and then from there you take a piece of that with you. It is only by understanding the ways of our own thought and feeling that we can truly help the child to be a free human being. And if the education is vitally concerned with this, he will be keenly aware not only of the child, but also of himself. That's for us as teachers. It's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard in so many moments of the day in the classroom to get into that child's moment and to be aware of what their needs are and what their feelings are, and to be aware of yourself and how you respond to their needs. And it's so easy to be reliant on what we've always done, but what we've always done doesn't work for every child. So just taking a moment of, in those moments that are frustrating, to just deeply reflect and to take a deep breath before responding to them. That way you're responding to them versus reacting. So, leadership in the new science. I looked at this book and I was like, blah. But this book has just stuck with me so hard. The way she writes is incredibly human. It's very conversational. And something she said at the end has just really stuck with me. So I read this book while also listening to it on tape because I was like hugely pregnant, and sitting to read it all was just awful. So I was trying to listen and read, and so I don't know exactly what page she said it in, but I know it's in chapter 10 somewhere. She said, I can't rely on what I knew, but I'm not yet comfortable with my new knowledge. And that's what I felt so much of throughout this entire process was, okay, I'm taking it all in. You've rocked my world. You've got my attention. I can't unknow what I know now, but I don't really understand it yet. And something that Dr. Gang said in the initial interview that I had with him on the phone before I ever even started this process, he said, our program is different from others. You're not writing papers to prove what you know. You're not graduating, passing exams, and knowing all the answers. We want you to live the question. And I was like, sounds cool. I did not understand that. I did not understand that when he said it. I knew they were powerful words, but as I started working this program and reading the text and dialoguing with the other members of the program in our virtual campus, I started to finally, for the first time in my life, accept that I don't need to know. I was so academically driven. I had finished my undergrad and jumped in right head on into my Montessori training that was so technical and hands-on with exams at the end. I was so set in memorization and proving that I knew what I knew and I could defend it. It was really a hard process to let that go and to say I don't understand it yet. But reaping the rewards of the times when it did come to life in my interactions throughout the day and throughout life and throughout this process, as the answers have slowly come or revealed a glimpse of themselves in application, was so much more meaningful than any flashcards, test, exam I've aced. It was just so much more meaningful. I'm so thankful to them for this. So again, leadership in the new science, it's about relationships. We live in a universe where relationships are primary. Nothing happens in quantum world without something encountering something else. Nothing exists independent of its relationship. We are constantly creating the world, evoking it from its many potentials, as we participate in all its many interactions. Were we to become truly good scientists of our leadership craft, we would seek out surprises, relishing in the unpredictable when it finally decides to reveal itself. Again, she's talking about corporations and when they see fluctuations in data, maybe, money isn't coming in, that these are the times that they can open themselves up and really be creative and seek the root of the problem and fix it from there. But I think this applies to us so much as educators in the classroom. When a child is, not excelling in an area, or there's maybe deviations in behavior or academic skills, to not see it as a deficit, but as a moment of looking at the whole picture. Let's look at the bigger picture. What could be the cause of it? What could be the root? What could be the different style that I need to introduce? What's a different solution? Trying different means, really opening ourselves up. Another book that I really enjoyed was The Great Work by Thomas Berry. He's a philosopher who is really honestly in line with Maria Montessori. He talks about our purpose as the great work. What is our great work on this planet as human beings? He asserts that humans are actually the universe reflecting on itself because we are the only species capable of conscious thought. So some of the things that he said in here that really stuck out was, the deepest cause of the present devastation is found in a mode of consciousness that has established a radical discontinuity between the human and the other modes of being and the bestowal of all rights on the humans. He wrote this incredible piece about the rights of, I forget the title of it, I can email it out after. The rights of, I'm brain farting right now, but basically the earth and not putting humans above all these other living organisms, but in equal with them and treating them with respect and giving them rights. We need to move from a human-centered to an earth-centered norm of reality and value. Only then can we fulfill our human role within the functioning of the planet we are living. For we are depriving our imagination, our emotions, and even our intellect of that overwhelming experience communicated by the wilderness. For children to live only in concrete and steel, and wires and wheels and machines and computers and plastic, to seldom experience any primordial reality, or even to see the stars at night, is a soul deprivation that diminishes the deepest of their human experiences. Again, this is so in line with Maria Montessori's kind of view of fantasy in the Montessori classroom, and how that can cause deviations in the child's development. If they're not exposed to enough reality, their sense of wonder is diminished, their sense of creativity is diminished because they're so used to being fed information and stimulation that they're not open-minded, they're not reaching their potential in terms of creativity, and not rooted in what is real. The planet cannot support human presence unless there is a reciprocal human support for the life system of the planet. So that is also to talk to the scientific kind of spirit of this program. But now I kind of want to move to what has really stuck out to me the most, and that's the mindfulness. This document that I'm going to cite in this next section was a suggested reading in our program, but it wasn't required, and it's not a book, it's an online document. I would have printed it out for you, but it's like 150 pages, so I can email that to you guys as well. But I wasn't going to read it, and I saved it on my desktop for a long time, and I was like, maybe if I'm bored sometime. I wasn't going to read it, and I'm so glad I did, because I would have really robbed myself of some really great skills and tools for remaining mindful in the moment. And it's called Peace in Every Step by this guy, whose name I'm not going to attempt to say. But he is also a Buddhist monk. And he talks about peace in every step, and these bells of mindfulness, and these different tips and tricks to remain mindful in the day and in the moment, such as when you're driving and a red light. It's essentially just the universe telling you need to slow down, and using that as a signal to calm yourself. How to practice deep breathing just in your everyday aspects, in your ongoing day-to-day outings while you're moving. It's basically a guide to, mindfulness isn't just done on a yoga mat or, in a room on a cushion that's quiet. It can be anywhere. These are skills that can go anywhere with you. And I really took this head on and brought it into the classroom. And I'm attempting to just really live these mindfulness skills with the children. A lot of it has to do with the senses, which really ties in with the Montessori philosophy, and hands-on and concrete. So how do I make this abstract concept of mindfulness concrete for them? And I'm going to show you guys some of the tricks and things that I've used to do that. So some of the things that really stuck out in his piece was, our senses are our windows to the world, and sometimes the wind blows through them and disturbs everything within us. We are what we feel and perceive. If the earth were your body, you would be able to feel the many areas where it is suffering. War, politics, and economic oppression, famine and pollution wreak havoc in many places. Many people are aware of the world's suffering. Their hearts are filled with compassion. They know what needs to be done, and they engage in political, social, and environmental work to change the things. But after a period of intense involvement, they may become discouraged. They lack the strength needed to sustain a life of action. Real strength is not in power, money, or weapons, but in deep inner peace. Wow. That's, like I said, when it kind of hit me, I believe in this stuff. I've seen the brain research on mindfulness in children, and that emotional regulation leads to success throughout their whole life. I've read all these studies. I understand that. But this to me was, okay, it's not enough to live it, or it's not enough to understand it, it's not enough to believe it, it's not enough to teach it. I have to live it. I can't impact others unless I have found my own inner peace. So, bringing that into the classroom, I have a whole piece area over here that's all about mindfulness and kind of planting these seeds in ways that are integrating the senses, following Maria Montessori's philosophy with hands-on concrete things. So it's hard, you have to be creative to think of things that can teach these lessons of emotional regulation and mindfulness, and what you can use to tangibly teach it to 3- and 4-year-olds that they're not going to be goofy with. But it really has become a thing of great respect in our classroom. So it started with the breathing ball. Just like our lungs breathing. So we'll do some mindful breathing here. So conscious breathing. As you breathe in, you say to yourself, I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. Breathing is the link between our body and our mind, and it brings us back to the present moment in our busy society. While practicing conscious breathing, our thinking will slow down and give us a rest. So we do this in the circle with the children quite often, and it's on the peace shelf for them to go and get for themselves should they need it. So we'll all do 3 breaths in. The children have responded very well to that, and this one ball has lasted several months. So that's a testament to their respect for it. The mindful moment timer was honestly not my idea at all. It was brought by a student who you would least expect to come up with his own mindfulness activity, but he brought it in and asked if he could put it on the peace shelf, and he said, maybe in circle we can all sit and be quiet for the moment that this timer goes. And the level of respect that these children have for that mindful moment, a friend can literally be in their space, blowing in their ear, bothering them, and they don't break. There is not you could hear a pin drop in here during that mindful moment. And it really does just set the tone for our circle time, kind of lets go of the work cycle and opens them up to do our routine and our lessons in the circle. And it really brings a sense of calm and unity. So it's been pretty beautiful. Before I move on to the next section that I want to talk about, which is observation and kind of self-awareness, I want to emphasize the value that this mindfulness stuff has had in the classroom. Again, I shared, I should have put some of the brain research in here that goes behind these mindfulness lessons and this self-awareness and how to plant it within students, but simply giving them different names for emotions that they might be feeling. There's a lot of emotions work over there. just giving them ownership over what they're feeling, and it's okay to feel that, and how to respond. It aligns so nicely with the the Montessori peace curriculum, and again with the senses and everything being hands-on and bringing awareness to those senses. I honestly feel that it's going better than I could have ever expected in the classroom, and I just want it to keep growing and evolve. And I'm hoping that this is something that we as a staff can kind of start to understand deeper and to cultivate school-wide, because I think these children going out into the community, it's going to have the biggest impact on, like I said, their inner peace and how they share that with others and how they share that with their parents. It's just been absolutely a joy to watch it all come to life through this whole year. So the next thing I want to talk about is observation and awareness. So observation is a noun, the action or process of observing something or someone carefully in order to gain information, the ability to notice things, especially significant details, or remark, a statement, or a comment based on something one has seen, heard, or noticed. But as I'm learning, observation is so much more than that. It's scientific, but it's also spiritual. It's giving and it's taking. Because when you're observing something, you are still impacting it. And you're impacting the way it's impacting the way you perceive it, your assumptions, your judgments, your reasoning. It's all being impacted in this kind of circle. It requires a lot of practice. It's conscious and unconscious. And to truly observe, you must open yourself to what you are seeing while suspending what you are thinking. So I had to record myself doing a lesson with the children, and I did it while we were doing a mindfulness lesson. And watching it back was really just it was really humbling, in the fact that I see how much my assumptions and what I think I know about these kids affect the way I interact with them, the way who I call on, who I ask to sit next to who. And then I started to wonder about how my assumptions affect the way I interact with them, and then how that in turn affects the way their peers interact with them. So a little bit more, my goal from that was to be a little more trusting in letting them show me rather than assuming. And a lot of times when we are observing for the sake of observing, we kind of already have in our head what the issue is, and then we're going in to an observation without an open mind. We're observing essentially to prove ourselves right, and if you're looking for something, chances are you're gonna find it. So to be aware of myself in those aspects, and it's a continual process, a continual learning curve. It's a continual self-evaluation to suspend my assumptions when they come in, and to know that it's there and it's affecting what I'm seeing and how I'm seeing it, and to let that go and let children show me their true nature, rather than just observing to prove myself right, or so yes, assumptions. Everybody has different assumptions and opinions. They're basic assumptions about the meaning of life, about your self-interest, your country's interest, your religious interest, and about what you really think is important. Baum said that in the beginning. They have an effect on our observations and those observed, which in turn has an effect on us. So perception is individual. We can all look at one picture, but we're all going to see different things. We can all look at one child, we're all going to see different things. So one philosopher we studied, Francisco Varela, I don't have any books for him because it was all online documents, but again I can share these. He really made an effort to understand the mind and conscious thinking, again relating back to what Thomas Berry shared, that we are the universe reflecting on itself. And he spoke about where is our mind? Our mind is not in our brain, it's not in our heart, it's in our entire being. The mind is impacted by anything and everything we come into contact with. And so he started studying neurophenomenology, which is the study of the mind and consciousness, to study not just our mind but our experiences. He was trying to make observation more humanistic versus scientific by matching data with first-person accounts. So really just observing from the first and the third-person perspective. He said that understanding the mind is not as simple as looking at the brain. The mind is not in the head. The mind is inseparable from the entire body and the influences on the environment. He shared the 3 gestures of becoming aware for when you are observing to be more open. So the 3 gestures are suspension, that is overcoming habitual patterns of judgment, cueing into what those habitual patterns that you have are, redirection, turning one's attention to the source rather than the object, and then letting it go. Respecting your thought that you have, but then letting it pass and opening yourself up for more. So, again, I shared my ultimate cosmic task, I feel, with all of this is planting the seeds of awareness in the self-awareness in these children, in my colleagues, and anybody I come into contact with. So, Maria Montessori said the education of even a small child therefore does not aim at preparing him for school but for life. What better skills to impart children with than self-awareness and a love of what is real and a respect for it and emotional regulation skills and compassion. Thank you, guys. Any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Do you guys want to get in these juicy books? I know you guys want to borrow these books. Does anybody have any questions?
I have
Yes?
a question.
Yes?
Tell me more about this breathing ball and
Oh.
where I procure one.
Classic Toys.
Okay.
Classic
What is
Toys.
it called?
I think they have them.
I don't know, but they're
Very easy to
$19.99.
So a donation. Okay.
Yes.
I love that idea.
It's a good visual.
Very much so.
Have you found any other like physical visuals, things that have worked well on your table?
Yeah, so if you guys want to shop the piece shelf, we can turn it off. We don't need the question and answer part.